Welcome to my top tips for constructing this beautiful Ferris wheel. So, my first top tip is that this project is an absolute stunner. But it's a labour of love, so there is a lot, so much die cutting involved. You have to cut out 24 of these dies because you need to stick 6 together to form one side of the wheel. Then it has a back, and then the same from the other side. There's also options for making the background even prettier. So there are 2 lots of dies and they can be layered together or used alone. So for example, this is the larger die. So if you're familiar with layering dies, you'll know that they tend to have gradually the holes, the decorative holes tend to get smaller and smaller. So you layer up a pattern. So that's the largest one. And then there is another one that can go on top of it. So it layers. The outside is the same width, so you just stick it directly on top and then it goes behind like that, which looks absolutely gorgeous. So you'll need to do that 12 times. So you need to cut out, in this example it'd be 12 of the dark purple, 12 of the fuchsia pink, and then there are the bottom dies as well that go here. So 12 of the purple, 12 of the pink, and then that would be the outside, and then the inside would be stuck on like that. So it's up to you really in terms of whether you wanted to add those layers at all, whether you just want to add one layer. That's what I'm doing for this project. I've just gone with the amethyst purple. I die cut the pink, the fuchsia, to show you, but it still looks gorgeous. And I say it says in the instructions that this is optional, but it is advisable, I would say, to do this, because I personally have found that I wasn't able to line up the, I keep wanting to call them doilies, the Ferris wheels. I wasn't able to line them up absolutely perfectly. Pretty close, but not 100%. So, you know, like there might be bits where these don't quite meet. So having these layers behind it hides that, and also makes the wheel look absolutely gorgeous and so much more attractive. But I say, either way, you need to cut out 24 of these. You need to cut out 6 of the side panels, 2 of the bases, 6 carriages, but each carriage is made up of 2 halves, so that's 12. And then each carriage you can decorate both the fronts and the sides. So again, it's one of those where Tonic supply a gorgeous verso die that you can use, and you can step it up further if you like me and like to add a backing panel as well. So, and if you think that's the 6 carriages, but each have got 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. So if you just think about how much die cutting is involved, it's a real labour of love. So what I'm saying is, if you're thinking, I want to make this and gift it to someone, so I'll get that done in a day, you won't. it's probably going to take you a full day to do all the die cutting, and that's like not doing any embellishments and just using like pattern paper. So I would just allow yourself a few chunks of hours, a couple of hours at a time, to work through all your die cutting, and then give yourself a couple of sessions, or one big long session if you like doing marathon crafting, where you can sit down and assemble it all. But don't try and do all the die cutting and the assembly on the same day, because you'll be really sorely disappointed and you don't want to rush it. So that is my first top tip, well, which encompass several tips. So as I progress with my make, I shall pop on and pop off and give you more top tips. So see you back in a mo. Okay, top tip, well, I'll call it number 2, but I think I gave you loads of tips in the first bit. But this is what the wheel looks like with the larger attractive elements adhered, and I think that looks really nice. It would look really stunning as well with the extra layer, so that's something to bear in mind. I found this, what worked best was to put glue on the areas that I knew needed gluing on the actual wheel, and then offer up the panel and look through the holes and figure out where the correct placement. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3 is decorate all your panels before assembly. It just tends to make things so much easier. I used to sort of think that it didn't matter that much and do either or, but if you can just sit down and have it, like if you think about it as a conveyor belt kind of thing, like right now I'm going to do all my die cutting, then next I'm going to do all of my gluing, that kind of mindset. So that's like tip number 3. I die cut the decorative panel from the ocean because my base is the teal, so that'll work well, and then I use that in conjunction with the decorative die and the sherbet lemon, which makes it really striking looking. And then as you can see, I've cut out all of my little side panels for my carriages, which are going to go on top of the ocean. So they're going to be like that. So then when it comes to, once they've all dried, so I'll do a load of gluing in one sitting, and then once they've all dried, I can then fold and score and just assemble the carriages. And then another top tip for you in terms of making the little bars, which will be what the carriages hang on, is use a bone folder. Always use a bone folder unless you've got long nails, and still I would say use a bone folder. Add a bead of glue along the glue tab. So I've folded and scored all the score tabs, folded the glue tabs back, and then this needs to be stuck onto here. So rather than trying to hold it like this in midair and worry that you're not going to get it in the right position, the best thing to do is flatten it like that. So because it's got an equal amount, so 2 sides on one side and 2 on the other, that means it's okay to fold it in half. So you can fold it in half, give it a nice good burnish, so you get in all the fibres of the cardstock to mesh well together, and you know that it's aligned because as long as you've done your score lines correctly, then that will all be aligned, and there you have a quick and easy assembly of your little bars. And I do say this often, so if you're a regular you'll have heard me say it lots of times before, but whenever you're constructing something like that, whatever it is, if it's got the same amount of sides, if it's even on both sides, you can fold it in half. I mean, as long as obviously it's meant to have a fold. Don't just go folding any old thing in half. if it's equidistant, then you're allowed to fold it in half, and that will work. So there we go. Ta-da! See you back in a mo. So a little tip around assembling the base. The instructions tell you to cut 2 bases and 6 sides and 2 of the little side panels. I actually cut an extra base because the idea is that there's 3 of these panels on each side. So you start off with the 1 base and then you attach all of the 4 sides using glue tabs, and then put another base on the top to make it stronger. But I decided to add another base underneath, and then with the other 4 side panels you trim the glue tab off and then stick one on the front and one on the back. And as you can see, this is really quite sturdy. So I've used 216 GSM on all of my construction. Obviously you wouldn't necessarily class 216 GSM classic card as a construction weight, but I find that often it's perfectly adequate. With Tonic Studios construction dies, they do tend to have lots of optional mats and layers, so you're actually strengthening them by adding the extra panels. And I know the 300 GSM's been out of stock for quite a while, but to me, in my opinion, 216 is fine, and obviously it comes in way more colours. It's really easy actually, just to build up these side panels. And then obviously there's still these beauties to add on the side as well. I'm just going to check, always check, this is another tip, even though it's like, oh well, they're all the same, I've cut them all the same, always check just in case, because you never know. The one time that you don't check something will be the one time that something goes wrong. So it's always better just to check and check again, because when you get this far into the project you really don't want anything to get messed up. All of my little axles to hold the carriages are made, and then there's a bigger axle which goes through the top, and then this will go through the center of there and join everything on in a bit. So it's all starting to come together really. It's such a gorgeous project to make. As I said, you do need to be aware that there is a heck of a lot of die cutting involved, but once you're prepared for that, that's fine. That's why I just wanted to say, like, you know, if you are thinking, oh, I'll do one of these today, don't get disappointed. You know, just prepare yourself, give yourself a couple of afternoons or mornings, or, you know, whatever works best for you, when you've just got an hour or 2 to yourself to do all of your die cutting. And then once all that's done, you can then start doing the fun stuff, like, well, for me, that's doing all the gluing and the prep. To be honest, I love doing all this kind of stuff and seeing it come together. What's your favourite part of the whole creative process? I think mine are, I enjoy choosing the colour palettes and what's going to be the base colour, and what, you know, what I'm going to use for the really decorative elements, whether I'm going to use mirror card or glitter card or whatnot. And then yeah, just choosing the main colour palette, and then I usually have a few extra packs of card that I know will go well, that will work nicely, will complement what I've already chosen, in case I decide, or in case I think, oh, actually I need another colour. Rather than having to start rooting through cardstock, I can go to my second little pile. Or for example, like, I'd planned to do all the carriages in pink. If I'd suddenly thought, actually, no, I don't want them in pink, then I could go to my other colours and choose something that I preferred. So yeah, choosing the colour palette first I think is a good tip, but also just something that I enjoy doing. So I would love to know what your favourite parts of the creative process are. And also let me know what you think about this style of video. So instead of being like a full tutorial, a sort of like top tips and like little bits of insight into different parts of the process and things to think about, rather than a traditional start to finish tutorial, which is the kind that I would usually do. I'd really value your feedback on that. My thoughts is that that's probably more useful for more advanced crafters, but I don't know, it could be also really useful for beginners just to sort of watch before watching a really in-depth tutorial that they might want to work along with step by step. I'll just show you how to construct a carriage. I'll do that together. Oh, these are so cute. Aren't they cute? Look lovely with the little defrish going through them as well. Oh, they're gorgeous. So there we go. That is how to construct the little carriages. In a moment, you'll see it all come together, unless there's anything extra that I think will be a tip or a handy hint before then. Okay, so another top tip for you is that obviously we have our two outer facing layers that we added the panels to, and then two inner facing layers which are just the pale purple without the layers added. Now, in order to construct the wheel, you need to stick the plain wheel to a decorated wheel, as you can see here. Now, when you stick the inner panel to the outer facing panel, glue this side, because the paler section in this case has got thinner lines. If you glued the side that is decorated and facing inwards, then you'll end up with glue showing all over the decorative pieces, whereas if you just glue the inner piece, then you won't have excess glue. I learnt that through doing that myself and gluing the purple panel. I was a bit tired when I was doing that bit, and it didn't occur to me, but so learn from my experience, otherwise you'll be scraping glue off. But it's a good job that using the types of glue that we're using they do dry clear, but that is definitely a top tip. To construct the actual wheel, you thread the axle through the outer, so you've now got two rings that are two rings thick. You thread the axle through this, and then you fold the tabs back like that and glue them to the outer bit. And that's what the circles that we cut earlier are for, so they cover up the glue tabs. Then, so once you've gone round and stuck all your axles on, you then add your carts on and then lie it flat, and then you then add this on with the decorative side facing out, and then glue the other glue tabs there, and then put the circles over to cover it. So another top tip, if you find that you haven't lined this up perfectly, the two panels, just use your favourite pair of fussy cutting scissors. Mine happen to be these Tim Holtz ones. I'll link them in the description box below. I think they're the 5-inch ones because I think it measures fully, but they're very sharp and you can get into tiny places. So for example, here there's a little bit of the underneath panel showing, so you can just snip it out, and here there's another bit, just to give it that professional looking finish so you can't see anything poking out from the other side. So that is how you construct the actual wheel. And then obviously we've got these hearts in the centre, and there are 2 heart dies in the kit. They're both the same size around the edge, but they are different widths, which is illustrated by particularly the fallout parts, so you get little hearts. So these are to cover and add extra decoration to these heart bits here. So I've chosen yellow to tie in with here and with my base. Now the other one is thinner, so what you could do if you wanted to go all out is actually to stack these on top of each other. So cut 2 in different colours. You probably can't see that well with them both being in yellow, but it's layered. So just as if you use both of the layering panels here, that's layered, then you can get the same effect for that. If you're wanting to save time, then you don't need to do that, but that, I just wanted to let you know the difference between those 2 hearts and what they're for. And then after you've stuck the hearts on, it's about then threading through your axle. So that goes through the centre and then through both of these. Actually, I think you meant to do the thread it through the outer bits first, but never mind. You fold the glue tabs back, and I'm not going to do it right now because I'm going to take it off and add the hearts, but it spins on the axle. Oh, you also need to add one of these to glue the tabs onto. Let me just check so I'm not giving you wrong advice. Thread the large bar through the holes in a circle die cut, the stand, your wheel, a second circle dot and a second circle die cut. So it does say to put it through a circle die cut before the stand, therefore the circle's going to be on the outside here. So then you stick the glue tabs to that circle. Then we've got this little decorative die here, which you place over the top here. So I've chosen yellow, and when you move that around, obviously because it's attached to the axle, it moves. So this is where you add the handle to, and you can see that it looks the same, so it lines up the same. So that's why you need the circle on there, so that you can use the handle to turn the wheel. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm just going to go ahead, glue these on, stick that on, and then come back and show you the finished article. Okay, so we're nearly done. So this is what it looks like once you've put the circle with a hole in it on the end of the axle and then glued the glue tabs down. On the other side, I had cut out this lovely yellow pretty circle, And then for this side, I'm going to have the handle. So I'd cut it out in pink and yellow because I wasn't sure what colour I wanted to use. So I ended up going with both, which I kind of think makes it look like an ice cream cone, don't you? Which is quite apt really, because obviously at the fairground, you always have like ice cream and candy floss. Yeah, it could totally be candy floss. In fact, I'm pretty sure that this this cardstock is called candy floss. That's the colour of it. So it does say to add a circle to both sides. Oh, I also added 2 layers of Craft Perfect, the 216 GSM, so it's nice and sturdy handle, because I found that even with the glitter cardstock, which is quite a decent thickness, it was a bit unsturdy for my liking. And I say it does suggest that you put the circle on and then attach the handle, so we shall do that. Make sure I get it nice and centered. And I've been checking, so every move that I've made, everything that I've done, I've been making sure that the wheel rotates, because obviously we don't want to accidentally glue something to something else. So for example, like when gluing the tabs to the circle, I made sure that this was pushed well back so that it wouldn't accidentally stick to that bit. And then this circular decorative panel, it's clearly got a top and a bottom, which is like you know, the top of your lips. So that is how I'm going to line it up. I'll put the glue on here and then line it up, so you'll see what I mean. So this is the dip, and then I'll just look from all angles to make sure that that's lined up, which it is. Although I had a glitter circle already cut, because it says cut 2, so I cut 2 at the beginning. If you can avoid gluing onto glitter cardstock, do it at all costs, because it's gluing onto glitter or mirror card both have their own disadvantages. With mirror card, the glue just gets everywhere and it's really difficult to clean up, and glitter cardstock doesn't like to have things glued on top of it. But I made sure that this circle was glued onto that handle securely before moving on to this stage. So now is the test. Aha! Look at that! It works and everything. It spins. We've got our little candy floss. I'm going to say that that's candy floss, and it was planned all the time. So I really hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial and the slightly different format of being centered around the tips while still showing you how to assemble elements. Just let me know what you think in the comments, in comparison like with a regular tutorial where it's like step by step, cut this amount and then I'll show you all the gluing and everything, which would be about an hour long, as it compared to this video, which is much shorter. And also, if there's anything that I haven't covered that you're unsure about, just let me know in the comments, ask me questions, let me know what you think of it. Do you like the colour scheme? Any questions or comments at all? On my channel, it's very much an interactive channel. It's like, I consider it like a little crafty family really, and love to interact with people in the comments and to help with any questions or queries that you might have. So that's all from me today, and I'll see you very soon with some more crafty goodness. Bye for now.